Just half an hour from Nice lies one of the Côte d'Azur's most famous villages, Saint-Paul-de-Vence. It's where Chagall painted, Picasso dined, and artists still fill the cobbled streets with color. Wandering through its narrow alleys, galleries, and ramparts feels like stepping into a painting. Ready to lose track of time with us? It's not the easiest place to reach by public transport. You pretty much need a car. So unless you've got your own, you can rent one. We actually work with discovercars.com, book a guided day trip, or just grab an Uber from 𝗙𝗢𝗄𝗎 like some of you already do. We've got plenty of surprises for you in this video, and the first one's coming right up. Before heading to Saint-Paul-de-Vence, we just had to stop by this famous chapel in nearby Vence, La Chapelle du Rosaire, designed by Matisse himself, who literally called it his masterpiece when it was blessed in 1951, just 3 years before his death. It's only a short detour from Saint-Paul, and you can easily explore both the chapel and its small museum in under an hour. Matisse, who had been living in Nice for about 20 years, moved to Vence in 1943. When the Dominican sisters decided to build a chapel a few years later, Matisse, who had once been cared for by one of them, offered to design it. What followed were 4 years of intense, dedicated work. And here's what the tiny chapel looks like inside. Everything, from the ceramic murals and stained glass windows, to the furniture and even the priest's vestments, was designed by Matisse himself. The chapel may be small, but as Matisse put it, through the play of color and line alone, it had reached the dimension of infinity. Alright, time to head to Saint-Paul-de-Vence, where Matisse was a regular, along with so many other famous artists of the time. We'll show you their favorite hangout spot in just a minute. But first, take in the village's main gathering place, Place de Gaulle. It's where locals and visitors meet any time of day, to play a round of pétanque or just enjoy a coffee in the sun. Well, before we step through the old town walls, let's take a quick peek at La Colombe d'Or, right here on Place de Gaulle. This legendary hotel/restaurant, or should we say the Roux family, drew artists like moths to the Côte d'Azur light. Picasso, Matisse, Braque, 𝗨𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗓, Cézanne, even writers like Jacques Prévert and James Baldwin came here to eat, chat, and sometimes paint with a painting. So yeah, no surprise, the restaurant feels a bit like a museum today. Anya and I popped in for a quick drink at the bar. If you're planning to have lunch or dinner, definitely book ahead. And just a little tip, don't try to sneak in just for a look. This family-run place really values its privacy, which honestly is part of what makes it so special. That's probably why regulars have been coming back here for decades. Oh, and one last thing, the Colombe d'Or usually closes for most of November through January. Okay, time for the old town, so let's get moving. Right through the Porte de Vence, where you'll most likely enter the old town, still proudly guarded by a cannon from a 16th century battle. Every corner here whispers 1,000 years of history. But honestly, you don't even need the backstory. The sheer charm of this village is enough to cast a spell. And the light? No wonder Saint-Paul-de-Vence became a magnet for artists and writers back in the early 1900s. Right now, we're wandering through the quietest, prettiest alleys, far from the tourist crowds. Don't miss Rue de derrière l'église. Just dive in and lose yourself in the maze of narrow walkways. Oh, and if you'd like for someone to show you around, you can always book a guide at the tourist office. So by now you've probably guessed it, this village was made for art, and that vibe is still everywhere today. It's so much fun to wander down the main street and peek into all the gallery windows. You'll find every style you can imagine, and if you're thinking of taking a one-of-a-kind piece home with you, well, this is the place to do it. And suddenly, it's high time for lunch. One of these spots in town, Le Tilleul, is already buzzing with people under the huge lime tree that gave the place its name, and that's where we're headed too. They offer a nice deal, the dish of the day plus a starter and dessert for €39. Or the main with either a starter or dessert for $32. Anya and I aren't really tempted by today's special though, so we go for à la carte dishes instead. But first, a little appetizer. Surface takes its time, but we can't complain. It's hard to mind when you're sitting in the shade of the big terrace, soaking up the village atmosphere, and looking forward to what's to come even more. Anya ordered a tuna tartare with mango and avocado, while I went for a poke bowl with salmon, quinoa, and plenty of fresh veggies. Easy to say, it tastes just as good as it looks. Refreshed after our light lunch, it's time for some more history. And there are a few gems just steps away from the restaurant. First, a quick stop inside the church, 𝗥𝗡𝗙𝗥𝗍𝗄 collégiale, which mainly surprised us with its rather unusual floor plan. Right next door, you'll find the Chapelle des Pénitents Blancs, dating back to the 17th century. This lovely little chapel was home to the Brotherhood of the White Penitents for more than 3 centuries, a group dedicated to helping the poorest families in the village until the 1920s. Don't miss the original triangular-shaped bell tower. The interior is even more surprising. You step inside and suddenly it's all light, color, and calm. The Belgian artist Jean-Michel Folon redesigned the chapel and worked on it until his death in 2005. The centerpiece is a magnificent mosaic that stretches across more than 100 square meters, shimmering with golds, blues, and soft pastels. But every detail here tells a story. The delicate stained glass windows, the figures on the canvases, the sculptures, all inspired by the Brotherhood's mission of kindness and compassion. Everywhere you look, you'll see open hands, ready to give, to help, and to share. Another historic gem is this house right here, 𝗨𝗦𝗘𝗙𝗥𝗏. It once belonged to Jacques Prévert, who lived here between 1941 and 1955. Prévert was an acclaimed poet and playwright, and of course part of Picasso's circle of friends. And that's also the guy who has inspired my tattoo. Alright, let's get going toward the southern end of the village. We're now walking right through the heart of Saint-Paul. This square used to be the local market until the mid-19th century. Back then, while donkeys and mules stopped here for a drink, villagers were busy washing clothes in the old stone wash house under the arches. From here, just keep following the little alley. There's no shortage of even more charming galleries and souvenir shops to tempt you along the way. We were honestly surprised by how lively it was on a weekday in October. But then again, this is one of the most famous villages on the French Riviera. And here we are stepping out of the village through the Porte de Nice, the southern gate of the old fortifications. Right across from it is one of the best viewpoints in town. Climb up the steep steps, walk under the giant olive tree, and take it all in. The Côte d'Azur's coastline stretches out before you. And below, as you can tell, is a peaceful cemetery that's actually home to a few famous names. Let's go take a look. We always love wandering through old cemeteries, especially in a setting like this, overlooking the sea. Right as you enter, you'll spot a map showing a few of the most notable tombs. And of course, one name stands out, painter Marc Chagall. He passed away here in Saint-Paul in 1985 after spending nearly 20 years in the village. Even today, almost 40 years later, people still come to pay their respects at his grave. But Chagall isn't the only one who left his mark on Saint-Paul-de-Vence. Another name you'll come across here is the Maeght family, especially Marguerite and Aimé Maeght, founders of the legendary Fondation Maeght. And yes, we'll take you there in just a minute. Patience! By the way, if you want to stretch your legs a bit more, there's a lovely little fortification discovery walk just outside St. Paul's mighty walls. Along the way, you'll find information boards telling the story of St. Paul's dual life, both as a medieval fortress and as a peaceful agricultural village. An even cooler way to explore this hilltop gem? Walk on the ramparts themselves, if you're not afraid of heights. You can hop onto them right next to the lookout point we showed you earlier. And once you're up there, wow, the views are absolutely stunning. These ramparts date back to the 16th century and are said to be among the best preserved examples from that era in all of France. Just really watch your step. There's no railing on one side and things can get a little tricky when you have to squeeze past someone coming the other way. For us, it's time to head to our final stop for today, the Maeght Foundation, which is actually about a 20-minute walk from the village. Set in a stunning natural landscape, surrounded by pine trees and silence, lies one of Europe's most important collections of 20th century art. Paintings, sculptures, and graphic works by masters like Chagall, Braque, Giacometti, Miro, and Léger, just to name a few. Inspired by American art foundations, Marguerite and Aimé Maeght dreamed of creating a similar haven in France. They commissioned a Spanish architect who had also designed Miro's studio in Mallorca to bring their vision to life. And in 1964, the Fondation Maeght finally opened its doors. 60 years later, this place still feels as fresh and alive as ever. Modern and contemporary art fill its light-flooded spaces and spill into the vast sculpture garden. Today, the collection holds over 13,000 pieces. And with ever-changing exhibitions, there's always something new to see. In summer, the garden comes alive with music and dance, adding yet another layer to this magical place. So take your time when you visit France's most iconic art foundation. There's so much to explore, and plenty of spots to simply sit back and soak it all in. That's it for our day in Saint-Paul-de-Vence. But before you go, quick heads up. We've just launched our Riviera Go memberships. We can't wait to see you there. And until then, keep watching. Our next adventures are already on the way.